Dating and relationships, we're all thinking about them all the time. I've got the love doctor with me today, Trent Brown, Live Forward. Looking forward to sharing with you on Fully Alive. Hit the music. This is Justin Westmoreland, and you're listening to the Fully Alive podcast, where we integrate physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual relational health so that we can become a fully alive community together. Awesome. Hey, welcome back to Fully Alive podcast. This is Justin Westmoreland. I am happy to have you with us this podcast because we want to help inspire you to have mental, physical, spiritual, relational health so you can live fully alive. Hey, I've got a guest with me today. I love having a guest. This is my friend Trent Brown.
Yes.
Now, Trent and I have become friends for quite some time now. We sort of hit it off right off the bat when our friend Gary introduced us a few years back, and as my friend Carrie Austin likes to say, game recognizes game. We really just totally meshed, and we have a lot of the same interests. And so Trent has now taken on a new calling in addition to his day job. He has become a YouTuber in his own right on a channel called Live Forward, and we're going to link to that. I'll interchangeably call you Trent or Live Forward today.
Hey, that works for me. I like it.
Mr. Live Forward. He wants to inspire you. I'll let Trent give us just a little insight into what his channel is about. So first, tell us why you started the channel, and then tell me what it's about.
Sure. So I started Live Forward because about 8 years ago, I went through a divorce, and it broke me as a man. And so I didn't want anyone else to really kind of go through any of that sort of depression or anything like that. I felt like even though my journey has kind of helped me find this calling, if you will, but I wanted to impart my wisdom so that way folks didn't have to go through some of the things that I've gone through in my life. I was inspired to start Live Forward because I've lived half my life on YouTube just watching videos, and I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of stuff out there that really kind of deals with relationships, but really kind of pickup artisty type stuff, not information that deals with healthy, long-lasting relationships. So I felt like there was a gap in the market, and I felt like that was the sort of information that I was longing for. Is not necessarily picking up girls or anything like that. I just wanted to learn some more information on having long-lasting relationships.
Right. That makes total sense because what do you do with them once you picked them up?
Exactly.
Where do you go from there?
Exactly.
How do you add value to that person so that you have a long-lasting, healthy relationship?
Right.
So healthy relationships, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to answer the second part to your question there, Live Forward, I give dating advice, relationship advice, as well as healthy lifestyle advice.
Oh yeah. So dating. That's why I want to have you on the show.
Sure.
I know everybody's interested in dating.
Of course.
As a former campus minister, one of my delights was being able to see a relationship begin from the ground up and then flourish, and then I got to perform several weddings and officiate the weddings with ministers. So it was just a joy and a privilege to see those things develop. It's something I always root for, and I like to play Cupid sometimes and put people together.
Right.
So I'm very interested in the topic. I have kids who are about to enter into that world as well.
Right.
So dating is it's fascinating. It's everywhere, So
it is.
And then people get divorced. People get got to get back in the game. So I want to add some value to people as they're thinking about dating, and I thought we could collaborate on this. So this is just a joy for me to have you. So talk to me, Trent, Live Forward, about what's the purpose of dating? What is the purpose?
I mean, I think that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of things, depending on what people are looking to get out of it. I think is really kind of what it starts with. But I think being honest with folks up front is probably the key to any relationship, whether it's an unromantic relationship, whether that's your friends or whatever. I think just being upfront and honest and being authentic with each other is what it's all about.
Right.
So
So you mentioned honesty, and in the Christian world, like a lot of I talk to parents, I talk to about this, and the goal of a Christian relationship is to somehow find someone to marry, a suitable wife or husband, right? And so when I tell people, hey, what's the point? I want you to, through the process of dating, to find somebody that you can walk down the aisle
Sure.
and feel trust. So you're looking for that person you can trust, right?
Right.
Which if you, like as you mentioned, you start off with honesty, you're setting up that trust relationship.
the
right?
foundation.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
any good relationship is built on trust, and if without it, you don't really have a long-lasting, healthy relationship. So I think that's extremely important for folks. But I know in your line of work, marriage is the answer. But for a lot of people, it's not everything anymore. So I think that there are people out there that are dating casually or whatever it may be, or they're dating to get married. So
This is fascinating. Okay. So I'm 40 right now. And so I grew up before the technology.
Yes.
Of how dating works and all this stuff. I was in the gym yesterday. Red Effect, actually. I've got them coming on next week. So plug for Red Effect, right? So, but I'm in there and there's people in the lobby talking, and a man and a woman had both got kicked off Tinder. I don't even know how you do that. I don't understand.
Got kicked off?
Kicked off Tinder, yeah. So
Okay.
tell me about like technology today and
Okay.
some of the challenges or
Sure.
benefits of technology dating.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So actually, in fact, I met my wife through Tinder.
Oh, wow.
We did not get kicked off.
Good for you.
But I don't think there's not the negative connotation with online dating as there used to be. I think when it first started, either in the early 2000s, it was a lot of people that were just out online, and they felt like there was this shadow over it, that they felt like they couldn't be honest about how they met, so they have to come up with this elaborate story. But I think today what lacks in technology is the personality or the personal connection. So what do I mean by that? It's almost as if you're shopping, right? So when you're swiping through these pictures, you're seeing it's obviously based on just looks, and a lot of first dates are based on just how a person looks. You find them attractive, but to me it feels, how do I want to say this? It feels inauthentic, because if things don't go right, then you can just be replaced by the next person. They slide to the right or slide to the left, however it goes. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it has this very.
It breeds insecurity.
It can.
Would that be fair?
It certainly can.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's this temporary feeling. So people, they're not as dedicated as they used to be, because you can just be replaced tomorrow with somebody else. So
I see. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot. It makes it accessible to pick up another date like that.
it does, and I do feel like it brings insecurity into it, because folks don't know what to really trust. They don't know if they can trust that person or not.
Right. But you are a success story. I mean, it worked for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a really good friend that found his wife through Tinder. So I've heard of a few good stories about Tinder, but I hear a lot of the negative or the horror stories of Tinder. So I can see it from both point of views, both angles, and both perspectives.
And it's funny that you have several generations of people who have connected and gotten married or started a relationship through the technology. I was having dinner at my house one time with a couple,
right.
And these guys, I asked them, "How'd y'all meet?" That's a common question I ask people. How'd you meet? So they met through an AOL chat room. Yes. AOL
Nice.
chat room about horses. It was just the funniest, right.
Horses,
yeah. So they had an interest in horses.
Absolutely.
And they started connecting. They lived across the country from each other. Eventually connected, met, got married. Several kids later, they're doing great.
That's amazing. That's a great success story.
There's a lot of success stories. So don't poo-poo on the technology.
Right.
Use it,
Use it to your advantage.
Use it righteously.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think that it kind of lends an excuse to folks to not maybe make that for us guys, not to make that approach in person, because you're hiding behind that computer or you're hiding behind your phone. But if you're attracted to somebody that you see in a grocery store or something like that and you want to ask them out, I think that it means more to people, or it means more to women sometimes, that it'll make you stand out a little bit more if you have the guts or the courage to approach them in person. I think technology has lent excuses for men not to do that, not to be men, and not to have the confidence to do it.
You think there's something about men in our nature where we don't want to ask out women, and we take any excuse not to, or?
I think more so now than in the past, for sure.
Is that and that's a negative.
It isn't. To me, it's a negative. It takes out the interpersonal side of it.
Yeah.
It just allows there to be. Well, I can ask them out online, or I can send them an email. It just, to me, women they want to be asked out. They want you to approach them.
I agree.
In person.
No, I agree.
It means
100%. It functions really well in that regard. So I'm agreeing. Men should ask out women. Men should stick their neck out there.
Yes.
And risk rejection. Or it'd be a big blessing to say, hey, this guy is asking me out. That you're giving the woman your intentions, right?
Right.
Letting me down. Okay, so is there ever? You're the expert here, Trent. So is there ever a opportunity or a situation where a woman should ask a man out?
Absolutely. I don't have anything qualms about it. I think it's a rare situation, to be quite frank. Case in point, I think Bumble is another app that folks use, and in that app, or that dating app, it's where the woman or the ladies have the choice to reach out to the guy before they can start a connection. So the guy can't say anything; he can just say, "I like you," and if you both match, then the lady's got to reach out to you in order to start a connection, start a conversation.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of negative reactions from guys that are on Bumble, because the women, they like the confidence boost of you matching with them, but they don't like to be the one that's reaching out. They don't like to say, hey, I think you're cute, or I'd like to. It's just not. It doesn't come natural.
Men and women are different.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's fair. And okay, so on that regard, in your channel, you talk. And there's some great episodes on there about how to tips on how to plan a date. What should you be thinking about? I really chuckled at your, don't go to a movie and stare at a screen for 2 hours.
100%.
Never. Give me just some good general tips about how to, as a man, how to plan a date for a lady.
So he's referring to my my ghosting episode, which was my very first video that I did. Looking back on it, there was a lot of things I wish I could change about that. But in my video, I do kind of go into the fact that no guy or no woman should suggest going to a movie on the first date, because you don't learn about one another. You're not having a conversation. You're not interacting. Mm-hmm. You're just staring up at a screen for 2 hours, and that's it. So my philosophy is you need to come up with something that's engaging, especially for the first date. Something that's active, something that's physical, whether that's bowling, whether that's going skydiving, or you take her to Dave & Buster's. Something that's fun, something where you're both conversating and you're interacting. But the physical part of it is huge because it's memorable.
There's something graceful and beautiful and wonderful about a man or a woman rolling a gutter ball and making the turn, and that look you get.
Yes.
Hey, that just happened.
Right.
It's like that's beautiful. You can't get that staring at a screen.
No. And case in point, actually, one of my first dates with my wife was at a bowling alley, and she beat me.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
That's a good story. You got a good story.
We do.
Hey, we watched Avengers.
And she'll never let me live that down. So
that's good. So you're creating stories. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's so much more fun. I agree 100%. Is there ever an opportunity or a time where you need to, where you might want to consider a movie?
Sure, but that's down the road. I think that's once you've established that you guys are in a long-term committed relationship, and I think I'm a big movie
swim.
buff. I love it. My wife not so much, but she will. I can drag her to a movie once I get her there. She loves the experience.
Yeah.
But I think that you need to establish a connection, establish a relationship before you start sitting in a movie where you know for a couple of hours.
Interesting. Okay, so you mentioned connection, getting to know the person, very important. I love when you're talking about how you kind of just blow it by asking too many questions on text messaging.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So you
talk about
brought up technology earlier. Texting is a perfect example of that. So guys sometimes, or a lot of times, I feel like these days, blow their opportunity with the girl because they're asking way too many questions up front. So what do I mean by that? So once you've asked the girl out, they'll continue to have a conversation over text message before the date happens. So it's like putting a cake in the oven and removing it before it's done. You're not allowing you're not allowing it to rise. You're not allowing it to bake a little bit. You're not allowing that her to look forward to it, because if you're finding everything out about the girl before the date happens, what does she have to look forward to? She already knows everything about you. You already know everything about her. So what are you guys going to talk about?
There's no mystery.
There's going to be no mystery at all. So
It's like if you stalk everybody on Facebook before you get to know them. All their stories are going to be, that's old news.
Right.
It's to some degree. Yeah.
And it's a little bit, I think, stalking. I think if you learn too much about the person when you're on that date, it can be a little bit, the woman might be a little turned off by that, because if you're learning so much about them before, it just comes off as needy. That's really what it comes down to. And the same with texting. If you're texting so much, you're showing her that you've got nothing else going on in your life.
Yeah.
You're not a busy person. You're not an active person. And if you're gonna, you don't want to, and this goes for women or for guys, you don't want your whole world, no person wants their whole world revolved around the other person. They want to know that you're an equal person, you both have your own lives, and that when you guys come together, you can have a healthy relationship, you both have something to give.
It's crushing. It's crushing for another person to suck you into their orbit and demand that you become their identity.
Yeah.
We talk about identity on Fully Live all the time. It's about, hey, we're made to worship God. And if we worship something else, it's an inadequate God. Could a relationship become sort of a de facto Lord of your life?
Right.
Yeah, and crushed.
It's crushing. It's suffocating.
Yeah.
So girls will always complain about their boyfriend seems to be overly possessive.
Yeah.
You
need some differentiation, your own identity.
You do.
And
Absolutely.
that's attractive.
It is.
Yeah. Hey, this person knows who he or she is without somebody else.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
This is I think related to that. Should people only date one person at a time, or should they date multiple people at the same time? I don't know. I've been married for so many years. What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's a case-by-case basis. Some people aren't comfortable with the idea of dating multiple people. I've done it in the past. It doesn't always, it's not always
Were you clear about it?
I was very clear about it.
Okay,
Again, it comes with being up.
You weren't hiding it?
No.
Okay.
But I think that because I was honest with the people up front, it made me more attractive, so then it made them gravitate towards me a little bit more.
Which is even not what you wanted. Actually.
Not what I wanted, but I always go by the just being honest. It goes so much further. So I don't know. I think that it depends. I think if you are into a casual relationship where you're just getting to know people, I think it's okay to date people more than one person. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
You think people get too serious too fast sometimes?
I think some people do.
Yeah.
Some people get too clingy too quick, and they can tend to blow things if you're not keeping your options open. And being a hot commodity is always attractive to people.
Yeah. Well, you got multiple people trying to date
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I agree to that. It's definitely, there's something about us where we're attracted to that. So Trent, thinking about control in a relationship. You've been in a relationship a while.
Okay.
How much control should a person have over their date? Like as far as time and whatnot? Talk to me about that.
So I think control, that's a fantastic question, by the way.
Thank you.
I think that is kind of detrimental to any relationship, is control of someone else. meaning that control comes from a deep-seated fear, right? So people fear that they're going to find your girlfriend's going to find someone else, your boyfriend's going to find somebody else, and so then you start to really clamp down on their time and be demanding. Essentially, either it will be detrimental to the relationship, meaning that it'll just blow up, or it'll start deep-seated resentment towards one another, whether it's a long-term relationship or you're just starting dating.
Yeah.
So being controlling of another person is, to me, it's terrible. I mean, it's no different than like driving down the road and having road rage.
Yeah.
You want to control what the other drivers are doing, but if you're not staying in your own lane, worried about your own life, you know what I'm saying?
It's jealous. It doesn't come across. It doesn't communicate.
It's
well.
not attractive,
Yeah.
and again, it ends up breeding resentment towards one another in your relationship. So I think that freedom is love, right? So
Yeah.
it is allowing the person. You want to allow the person to have the room to do whatever they want to do and still be in a relationship. They allow them the room to choose you. If
Yeah.
you force them to be choosing you, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because who wants to be in a relationship with somebody that is forcing them to love them? It's not attractive, and in the long run, it won't work.
It's like they're becoming your mom or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you're a parent, where you're just gonna impose all these demands on you, and you have to jump through these hoops.
Right.
Hey, I mean, when God set the slaves free out of Egypt, He said, "Hey, I'm the Lord who brought you out of slavery. Now here's the way to live and flourish." He gave them guidelines, which is here's our expectations up front. Here's what I'm about.
Sure.
But you've got freedom within that relationship, that structure,
Right.
to be who you are. Now, so is it even helpful to have these labels anymore? Like, this is my girlfriend, or we're going steady, or like?
I think those are important. I think they're important, and it doesn't matter who they're important to. It may be the girl or it may be the guy that needs to have those. But if you're willing to spend your time with them, I don't think that you should be hiding. This is a girl I'm seeing. Well, why can't you put a label on it if it means something to you? Why do we have to be so? Everything doesn't have to be so casual. If it is casual, that's great. Don't put a label on it. But if you guys if you're serious about one another, why can't you put a serious label on it?
Yeah, putting a label on it. But to push back here a little bit, when you put the label, I feel like there's just maybe an implicit control factor, the person, because this is my person.
That's a possessive thing,
Yeah.
sure, but it's all in perception, right? So.
Yeah.
Again, it's really how you're showing up in that relationship.
Okay.
Are you showing up as your own individual? Are you still making your friends your priority? Because they should be. Not just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you need to forget about everybody else. Your family, your friends. You need to still prioritize people in your lives. And you still need to have your own interests. You need to have your own hobbies. I think a lot of people get lost in the relationship, and then again, as we talked about earlier, they make their whole lives revolved around that person. It's suffocating, it's unattractive, and it really turns people off and turns people away.
Tell me about nice guys. What do you think about nice guys? Yeah,
I love nice guys. I think everyone. I mean, I love nice guys. I think I have he's referring to one of my videos that I do primarily on nice guys. Nice guys finish last.
Live forward. Go listen.
Yes. So nice guys, I think, lack the courage to stand up for themselves and to really kind of
Have some conflict.
Yeah, have the courage to disagree with your partner. Not to say that you need to be arguing or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But have the courage to stand up for your own beliefs and be validated in those beliefs and say it.
It's leadership. It's like, hey, I'm going to ask you out. Hey, we're going to go here. We're going to be back at this time. I'm picking you up this time. Give them clear expectations. Lead them, and then, hey, oh, you don't like that? Well, we can talk about it, but here's my vision, and create some vision, and then you can discuss, but there might be some tension, but resolve the tension. Be a leader, is what you're saying, like, be a man, right?
Yeah, and so part of my journey, started, finding people online, and there's this guy by the name of Coach Corey Wayne. I encourage all of you to go check him out. He's on YouTube. But I read one of his books, and it's How to Be a 3% Man. And in this book, he kind of delves a little bit deeper into this subject, but I'm going to kind of just skim over it. But he talks about the importance of having a yin and the yang in a relationship. So having a masculine side and having the feminine side. So whether that happens to be, sometimes guys can have a more of a feminine side and the women can have more of a masculine side. But as long as there's a yin and a yang in the relationship, it's bound for success. If you have two masculines in a relationship, you're going to have a lot of conflict, as well as if you have two feminine. There has to be that yin and the yang in the relationship in order for it to be successful long term.
Sure.
So
sure.
I encourage all of you to go check out that. It's a free book actually on his website. So
yeah. Speaking of books, I got a couple recommendations. Okay?
All right, let's do it.
A joke recommendation here. I picked this up somewhere. Going Out, Going Steady, Going Bananas, the Bananas Dating Guide. If you can find this, it might be worth reading.
It looks about like it was written in 1950. I'm not really sure.
It's a guy with bananas surprising his date there on the. Okay, that's a joke. Don't look at that. Hey, here's one. I call it the Orange Book. It's called Sex, Dating, and Relationships by Heisted and Thomas. I just call it the Orange Book. Go look it up. Gerald Heisted and Jay Thomas. It's all over the internet. Go find it. I will link to this for sure. It's a great resource. We'll link to yours as well. Let's get it. People need to be reading, right? I mean,
100%. Either that or audiobooks.
Yeah. Well, somehow you got to get somebody some more ideas in
Yes.
your mind, and be engaging with those things. That'll make it a more interesting date, probably too.
Yeah.
Just something to talk about. Now, not that you only talk about yourself and the things you want to talk about, right?
Sure.
How talking about how to be a more curious person to be a better date. What do you think about that?
I think that's great, and I kind of cover that in my ghosting episode. But really, people react to people that are curious about them. They want ladies. You all would like for some guy to, if you're interested in horses, as you brought up earlier, they want you to be curious about it. If you know everything about it, that's great. But don't go into the conversation acting as if you're a know-it-all. Act like you're a kindergartner just learning for the first time, and allow them to talk about themselves. People like to talk about themselves. And so when you're on a date, it's almost, you want to have good stimulating conversation. You want to almost have kind of interview questions, not like a business interview, but a dating interview, because you want to learn about them, you want to learn about their interests. But people get passionate, people really start having deep conversations with stuff that they're really passionate about. So asking those deep, curious questions is huge.
Yeah, I love your story. I love your passion for dating and for helping people get better at it.
100%.
I tell you what I want to know, if I'm in the position of a guy who has no girlfriend, no dates, you've got somebody you're interested in. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
How do you build some confidence to make the ask? Maybe you guys can comment on this too and let us know what you do, but I want to hear from Trent, the expert here. What are some tips for developing the confidence to make the ask?
Well, I think this is that's a loaded question, because there's a lot of things you can do, but I think it all starts with yourself. And I know that you kind of cover this on your channel, but health. So I deal with some of these subject lines as well. But I think investing in yourself, investing in building yourself up, because quite frankly, if you don't love yourself, how can you expect someone else to? So you've got to start loving yourself, and that's taking care of yourself, right? So that's getting in the gym. That's if you want to learn karate or something like that, or judo or something, take up hobbies that you're investing in time in yourself. And as far as confidence is concerned, those things will help kind of make you more disciplined. You'll gain confidence from that discipline, and really, it really just takes time, and it takes practice. It takes practice talking to people and talking to strangers, just saying hi and striking up a conversation just with somebody that you're not even interested in will give you that confidence. The more people that you just have communication with, it's just practice. Practice makes perfect. The repetition is the mother of all skill, right? So
you crash and burn a few times.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, it's no different than comedians going up on stage. When you see their special on Showtime or
Yeah.
Netflix. It's not the first time that they're saying their act.
That's right.
They've gone and worked it out in the club, and they crashed and burned, and they've fallen flat on their face, and they've perfected that craft over a period of time because it's repetition, it's practicing, it's just getting better at communicating.
Yeah. You mentioned you talked about this, but some advice for ladies. Like give me some advice for the ladies listening today. We're talking to. How do the ladies help the men get along here? Because we're challenging men to ask women on dates. What advice would you give for a woman, particularly if she's not interested? What should she do? How do you say how do you let the guy down, or should you go on the date anyway? What do you think?
Ooh. If she's not interested, there's no way that she should go on that date.
Do you feel like women do that?
All the time.
Yeah.
I think that whether it's for a free meal or they do feel bad for the person, but inevitably you're prolonging the inevitable. You're not interested. So
Making it worse.
You're making it worse. You're sending the wrong signals. So I think, again, as we talked about at the very first of this, honesty. It's the best policy. If you're not interested in that person, you need to be upfront about it, and that way it's clear, it's concise. Just be clear and concise. You don't have to be rude about it, right? You don't have to, be hateful or ugly about it. Hey, I'm flattered. I'm really just not interested in you. I appreciate you asking, but no, thank you. You don't have to turn it into anything more than that. So. But don't be giving. I feel like a lot of times girls they don't want someone to feel bad, so inevitably they prolong the inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want him to feel bad, but by stringing him along, it's worse, right?
It makes it worse.
It does.
You got to have the courage to say no and to say maybe even here's why. Because if you're honest with someone and you're assuming some friendship and
Right.
some trust here, to say, hey, I don't want to date you or go on a date with you because of this, and it gives the man an opportunity to look in the mirror and say, hey, I need to work on some things, versus making up an excuse or a lie why you can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, talk frankly and honestly and directly, with grace, with kindness,
Sure.
with the appropriateness. But would you agree that that would be helpful? Would you welcome that kind of feedback from hey, I know I'm just asking you on a date here, but if I'm doing that, would you think that's a helpful thing for a woman to do, is to give?
100%. I also think that women should give guys the opportunity to ask them out. So back in the 50s, or back even like a long time ago, girls would have like their handkerchief, and they would drop them on the ground, and then for the guy to come up and pick it up and then have the opportunity to give it back to them and then say, hey, would you like to go out on a date? So if you're at a bar or something like that, if you're ordering drinks for your girls at the table, the guy's not going to approach a group of guys or girls because that's just too intimidating. But if you're getting a drink for your girls up at the bar and you want to maybe have ask the guy to hold your jacket while you do that. So then you go take your drinks back to the table, and then you go get your jacket. It gives that opportunity for that guy to have a connection with you.
Okay, that's a good tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to. So if you're out with the ladies, your girls are out there, your council of 5, however many people you got in your group, out there, and you separate yourself to put yourself out there so you are approachable. This is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. The wolf is not gonna approach the group of women. I mean, if he does, that's great. He's got awesome confidence. But in most cases, he's gonna try to get you while you're alone. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think that you just want to allow there to be an opportunity for him to make a move, right? So,
but don't be too aggressive, right?
No.
That's what. So at my kids' middle school now, what the ladies are doing is they get those hair tie things or scrunchy deals, and they put them on the guy they like.
Oh,
it's a funny.
I like that. That's awesome.
They put them on. So girls can be pretty aggressive these days, with the boys. And
I don't have anything against that. I think that's great. I think that's perfect.
Isn't that funny how just things are, those little cultural things are? So okay. So thinking about dating, if you've got questions. Trent's your man. Live Forward.
Yes, please.
He's got yeah, you need to subscribe, mash the subscribe button, like him, comment.
At least go check it out.
Yeah.
If you like the content, consider subscribing. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. I think that if you like the content, I'm confident that I've got some good stuff for you all to check out. So
Yeah, good things to say here. Well, okay, so you talked about working out. Okay, do you have
Yes.
any, like, give me some just workout tips, things that work. But you've been on this journey for quite some time. I always like to hear, like, what are your best practices? What are you working on now? What's your goals?
So right now, probably, so I just got done doing a half marathon.
Oh, yeah.
I lost some muscle mass due to that, so I'm looking to kind of gain a little muscle mass there. Now, when we first met, I had just started fasting. And I've been doing fasting for 3 years now.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And
Intermittent fasting.
intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And prolonged fasting too, but
Yeah.
primarily intermittent fasting. And that's, I have videos that kind of delve into that if you're
Yeah, yeah.
looking for that for beginners. So please go check that out. But I'm a big believer in fasting. It's a lifestyle. It's not so much a diet as it is just an eating window. So it's been huge. It's a game changer for me, and I've known a lot of people that it's changed their lives as well. So
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with it, please go look into it. It's huge.
Right. Yeah. So that's a great point. What about, we got 4 sort of pillars of how to gain health and better performance. One, what you're putting in your body,
Right.
input. Intermittent fasting is going to help you control the calories and the timing to where it's optimal. That's one way to do it. 2 is your output. What are you doing in the gym? Making good choices about that line up with your goals, whether it's weight management or building muscle or training for distance running.
Right.
Making good decisions about what you're doing to burn the requisite calories and put on the muscle that you need. And then 3, sleeping. Please go back and watch our last
Yes.
episode on sleeping. It gives you an insight into some of the negatives where you can just be absolutely undermining those 2 first pillars with lack of quality sleep or disrupted sleep. Please look at that. And then 4, hey, have realistic expectations. Trent's been doing this for many years,
Yes.
training and physical. Like, if you're in month 1 or year 1 of training, you're going to get better and better and better. There's going to be compounding interest the longer you go at it. So just keep putting in the steady, consistent work, and it's going to happen for you. But have the expectations in check,
Right.
and then let the compounding come. You're going to be better at this 5 years in versus first year, and they're
Right.
going to see better results. So those are just a few of the things we like to talk about all the time. And once you commit to these sort of principles, everything's going to take off for you. Relationship stuff.
Right.
You're going to love God more. There is going to be so many benefits to just getting into the training. Okay, so with that, I want to end it right here. I think
Let's do
we've
it.
covered a lot of good ground.
We did.
Okay, let's not make this a one-off. Let's do this again.
Let's do it.
All right,
I love
man.
that. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Trent. You're the man. Okay, so we'll catch you later. Go live fully live, people.